when we hopped on board with Disney Plus, and they were like, who from our world do you want to have on the program? This is one of the names I threw out there, and here he is, the host of the Paul Finebaum Show, Paul Finebaum himself. Good to see you, sir. How are you?
First of all, Rich, you're number 2 at Disney that has actually pronounced my name correctly. Tony Kornheiser being the only other one.
I wonder what we all have in common, Paul. I wonder what we all have in common to get this correct. I don't know. Could be the follicles. I don't know. It could be being a man in the eyes of the Lord. I don't know. I have no idea. We could go all over the place. But
well, we're still short of a million, though. Let's keep going.
We're 7 shy. It's 10 people for those non-Jews in the Rich Eisen Show studio.
We're non, but it's all
no, you're not. You don't count in that. At any rate. Okay, very good. Paul, good to see you here, sir. I guess the first order of business involves Arch Manning. Obviously, he's a name, but this whole business, if he's hurt or not, and whether there's cameras to shoot people, while they're in the bathroom making faces, you're shaking your head. It's kind of an awkward start, would you say, for the season for Arch in Texas?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Terrible. And Rich, if these people, if these pundits had not hyped him up so much, wouldn't we all be better off? I say that as the president, chairman, CEO of the Arch Manning fan club.
Yes,
so I took a shot and I missed. What can I say?
No, it's all good.
But what Steve Sarkisian did this week was just so wildly weird and inappropriate. And listen, maybe we're too close to the sun here, but when you turn a simple question into a 2 or 3 or 4 day story, you've made a terrible mistake. And Sarkisian is a really smooth operator. This isn't some yokel clown who can't walk and chew gum at the same time. And the question came up about Arch appears to be in pain when he was throwing the ball Saturday, and Sark just went crazy and turned it on the reporter. I don't know. I mean, how would anyone know what his condition is? Although one thing is for sure, he's not nearly as good as I said he was, and a few other people thought he was.
Yeah, and I guess he is wincing, and he said after the game when he was asked about it, Arch, that he was just wincing because he missed the throw, and he thought it was something that he could get. And I don't know if the injury stuff is what people are looking for, to see that there's got to be something wrong with the kid because he hasn't come out of the box like Peyton times Eli. So maybe that's what it is. I don't know what is afoot here, Paul,
Well, number one, he and his coach got completely outmanned in game 1 against Ohio State. We know that story by now.
Yes.
An elite NFL coordinator just completely shut them down. The second game, he looked better. He still didn't look great. Fortunately for Texas, there's another practice game or 2 before it gets real. But ultimately it will. And I mean, I still believe in him. And I was talking to Seth Wickersham the other day, and I know you know Seth, and he chronicled Arch's recruiting in his new book. And I said, is he really this good? And he said, yes. He said, everybody says that. The knock on Arch is the same as the other Mannings. They all played at a private school in New Orleans, Newman, 1A versus the big boys. But that's not it. I mean, there's too many people have said they have seen him make throws that nobody else can make. I'm waiting, though.
That's right. I hear you. And then I guess, after that loss to the Ohio State, because I try to be respectful here, Paul, that the schedule, when I looked at it for Texas, as you mentioned it, the types of games that they have right here over the next couple of weeks. I looked at Florida. Now that's the one that's going to be the next big test for Arch. And then Florida goes ahead and loses to South Florida, and now we're talking about Billy Napier's gig, right? Like I'm having trouble trying to assess who's good or really good or national championship worthy outside of Ohio State right now. Paul?
Yeah, that would be a good place to start. But in terms of Florida, they'll be revealed this weekend. They're at Baton Rouge. Not a good place to find yourself after losing to your not even cross-state rival. Florida this year has Florida State and Miami on the schedule. Miami is next week, and they lose to the weakest of the three. I did the calculation on Florida's 12-game schedule. USF is either the 10th or 11th best team on their schedule. So if you're doing the math on where Billy Napier will be next year, he probably won't be at Florida.
You think that's the case? What about Kalen DeBoer at Alabama, Paul?
He's got a little more security for this reason. Napier's buyout is only $20 million. DeBoer's is $68 million. And only one time has college football ever gone this high. They went 76 3 years ago with Jimbo Fisher, but Rich, that was Texas A&M. That's a good day in the oil fields for the Alabama doesn't have any oil fields proper. They may have some way out in the Gulf. So they really can't afford to get rid of them. But sometimes coaches can make it easier to get rid of you if they keep losing. And DeBoer is really living week to week right now. So
Landman can scratch the check, is what you're saying. Bubba Grump Shrimp is not going to scratch that check for Kalen DeBoer. That's what you're saying.
Shrimping is a good business. I love shrimp, but it does not add up to that hundreds of millions of dollars.
I got to tell you, Paul, watching your show and listening to the callers from Alabama, when the Crimson Tide lose in the manner that they lost a couple weeks ago, what goes through your head when some of these callers pour their hearts out and literally like lie on your Paul Finebaum show couch? Paul, what goes through your head for that?
Well, I have empathy because I've been there so many times with them. And it used to be, Rich, and you've done this for a long time, not as long as me, because nobody has done it as long as me.
Nice.
But the point being, it used to be the callers to radio shows were outliers. They were not the mainstream, and people in the industry, they're just a bunch of kooks. You know, the guy out in Long Island, the guy in Westwood. But what I hear now after an Alabama loss is reality. I mean, these people are representative, and we have a couple who become very well known, and they think a lot about their calls, and they're epic. I try to side with them because to me they are the people that matter the most, not those who sit in ivory towers.
Paul Finebaum here on the Rich Eisen Show. What was your assessment of the Michigan-Oklahoma game from a couple nights ago, Paul?
Yeah, starters, it was a huge win for Brent Venables, who was living on that hot seat. And he had to have that win. And listen, I don't need to tell you, beating Michigan matters, especially in the Southeastern Conference, which where it's been now 3 years without a national title. That's forever in the world that I live in. I was pretty underwhelmed by Michigan, though. I think Sharon Moore continues to stub his toe. I couldn't quite get a handle on Bryce Underwood. I think he's going to be great. I'm not willing to go as far with him as I did with Arch Manning because I don't have any mulligans left in my bag. But I'm really interested, and I'll lean on you, being a Michigan man, to tell me what you saw, because I came away underwhelmed.
Well, what I saw over the first two starts for him, what I've seen is an arm that I've never seen attached to a Michigan quarterback. I've never seen anything like Bryce Underwood's cannon in my entire 30 years of rooting for Michigan football and watching it. I've never seen anything like it. But I also saw too many shades of last year's offensive struggles against Oklahoma. And I'm going back and forth between, does Michigan just not have the skilled position horses? Didn't help that they didn't have their top tight end out there. And as you know, that's the best friend of a young quarterback. I was wondering if the offensive line isn't up to snuff, or is it all that going against, as you mentioned, a Venables coached defense with some really good players. And then, of course, Oklahoma is fielding a far more veteran quarterback who's associated with a system already with all the guys that came with the quarterback to Oklahoma. I just wondered if that's just the way it is, and we'll see how it is moving forward. Or is is this just not for real? I can't believe that. I think Underwood is really good, and they should. Well, I feel like a caller into your show right now. I should start flipping out. No, in all seriousness, though, they need to move Underwood out of the pocket. Kid throws off the run in a way that I've never seen a Michigan quarterback do it. So maybe it was the play calling too. I don't know. Or you tip the cap to Oklahoma. How does that sound, Paul? As a response.
Yeah, one thing about Oklahoma. I mean, Venables was the architect of those Clemson national championship defenses. He and Napier, the quarterback. Not only did he come over as the best quarterback in the portal, he brought his QB coach and his offensive coordinator. That really matters a lot. But I think Oklahoma's possibly, on the fringe of the playoff. Their schedule is probably too tough to get in, though.
Well, I'm sure LSU would love to perform better against Oklahoma than Bryce Underwood did, since we know the connection between Underwood and LSU that no longer exists. And so LSU's got a big game this weekend as well. Give me the teams that you've seen so far that you can assess are national championship worthy right now, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously starts with Ohio State. I think LSU is on that ledge. Now, you have to help me on Penn State, because when you play, when you beat up on the top three teams in the Catholic youth organizations, Philadelphia, I mean, how do you get away with playing a schedule like that? It's downright embarrassing. While Michigan is out there playing Texas last year, and at Oklahoma, and Ohio State's playing Texas this year, and LSU is going to Clemson, and you're playing Villanova. You're playing Nevada and Florida.
Are you saying Drexel's on the schedule? Is that where you're going? You're the Big Five? You're going to go the full Big Five on me? Okay.
Saturday's game's at the Palestra.
Shout out to Philly.
Shout out to Philly. Yeah, I guess, right? And that's rubber meets the road there, right? When Penn State plays Ohio State, that's it, because Penn State doesn't play Michigan, if you just want to talk Big Ten alone. But that's rubber meets the road there, Ohio State. And so who from the SEC do you throw in this mix?
Yeah, I'd start with LSU, and I still think Texas is going to get to the playoffs, and then Georgia. Georgia's very overlooked right now. They're at Tennessee this weekend, so the winner of that game is going to emerge very, very brightly. And then you just kind of start swimming your way through. Who is it? Is it South Carolina with Lenora Sellers, who is unbelievably talented, Rich, as a quarterback? I think there's 5 or 6 in the mix. Alabama, to me, is not in that mix right now. I don't think you can lose a game like they lost and be taken overly seriously. But the people like to write the SEC off, and I get it. I'm fine with it. And I know my credibility promoting the SEC it's kind of like one of these Washington Huskers promoting their party. But that's okay. I still think the SEC is very deep. And I'll offer this as an example. Mississippi State is a school picked to finish last in the SEC, and they beat Arizona State Saturday, which was a playoff team last year. So I don't know what that really means, but it means that it's very early. Not that I'm telling the audience anything they don't know. We're in the 3rd week of the season.
I know, but we still got to talk about it, right? And then there is still enough to form an opinion on or off of. In the few minutes I have left with you, Paul Finebaum, your assessment of the first 2 games of Bill Belichick's collegiate coaching career is what?
Fairly laughable. I want to be a fan of Bill Belichick, but he makes it impossible. The first game was just an absolute and total disaster on the biggest stage that he will ever have at North Carolina. The second game meant nothing. I mean, they're playing at Charlotte. I mean, not exactly the bastion of college football. I think he'll struggle. I think his comments this week make it even more difficult. I mean, why do you have to continue to be Bill Belichick? I guess maybe because you're 73 years old. But to say what he did about locking the Patriots out, it's just downright stupid. And by the way, we both saw the first game against TCU. Did you see a single prospect on his team that anybody would want to come visit? I didn't. But in deference to your players, you can't say that. You want to open the doors. But Bill Belichick's always been a petty, small-minded man. But when you win 6 Super Bowls and you're an assistant on 2 other ones, you can get away with that.
Paul Finebaum here on the Rich Eisen Show. And I guess what's your opinion of the NCAA's idea of having a transfer portal window open in January? Ryan Day, I don't blame him for pushing back on this. He's just like, hey, for those who play in January, really? Is that really? Like, not everyone gets to play in January, but that is Ryan Day and Ohio State's goal. And more often than not, they're going to play in January, right? Or play for a national championship deep into January. And the NCAA is like, well, for most everyone, they'll have the time to figure this out in January for a transfer portal window. What's your opinion of it, Paul?
Last year, Rich, the schedule was so screwed up. You had the backup quarterback at Penn State announce he was leaving while Penn State was getting ready for a playoff game. That's where we are. And it completely affects every aspect from the portal to coaching changes. Somebody asked me the other day, hey, what about this guy for that job? I'm like going, not hireable if he's in the playoffs, and the playoffs don't end until January 21st.
Yeah, I mean, these days, everything seems to last longer now. And I guess that's for another question down the road is when the college football world turns into a super league or not, and figure out who's in that boat and who isn't. But that's obviously for down the road. Paul, I appreciate you taking the time here and maiden voyage here in our first couple weeks here on Disney Plus and ESPN and ESPN Radio. I appreciate it, sir.
Rich, the pleasure was mine. Thank you so much.
Let's do this again, Paul. ESPN Radios and ESPN's Paul Finebaum of the Paul Finebaum Show right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.